Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another video by Bible Dork. Today we're going to be talking about a couple of Bibles that are often talked about in Bible circles, and that is the Humble Lamb Bible and the Thomas Nelson Premier Edition Bible. And we're going to look at both of these today. And one of the very first things I want to look at before we get to all the other good stuff is my all Bibles chart here. We're going to look at ghosting of the paper, and this is a big consideration when you're looking at these Bibles. So this is supposed to be a 36 GSM paper in the Nelson Bible, and there's our all Bibles chart, and we can see how bad that image is ghosting through there. And then we have the Humble Lamb, and we see the ghosting there. Now this doesn't seem to be that big of a deal. It's fairly similar in some ways, even though it's 30 versus 36 GSM. This paper feels, though, a lot thinner than the Nelson, obviously, because it is thinner paper. All the way around, I think the paper quality in the Nelson is far superior. The feel of the paper. This paper feels very cheap to me at times, but that's a personal opinion. But beyond that, why this is a factor is because this Bible contains, and what makes it special is it contains sketches and drawings by an artist named Gustav. See if I can find some. And one of the things you see with these is that the text bleeds through the image, I think, fairly bad. It makes the images have almost a waviness to them, and you can see all the lines coming through the image. And on the back side of the page, we can see the dark block where it's coming through. So that's kind of what we have there in the basics of the paper. But let's actually dig into the Bibles themselves and look at a real comparison of the Bibles. So the first thing we want to look at is the dimensions. This one's almost 9. It's about an eighth shy. About 5.5. These are rough measurements, and almost 2 inches in thickness. The Humble Lamb is about 9.5. by about 6 1/4, and about 1 3/4 roughly. So about 1/4 of an inch thinner than this guy. Both are extremely floppy goatskin. Both have 3 ribbons. The ribbons on the Humble Lamb are not anywhere near the quality of the ribbons in the Nelson Bible. Nelson Bible ribbons are actually pretty decent ribbons. The big difference, though, is the cost. This Bible is somewhere in the area $70 to $80 when they go on sale, and they're on sale often. This one's $150. When we look at the text size of the Bibles, this one comes out right at about a little bit bigger than a 10. It's not even quite a 10.5. It's about a 10-point font using the All Bibles chart. The Nelson using the All Bibles chart is a solid 10. So very similar on the text size. What we see, though, is the kerning of the text. The spacing of the text is a bit different. The spacing is much larger in the Humble Lamb in some spots. If we can just line these up, find some similar passages. So the spacing is a little bit, it's a little wider on the kerning of the font in the Humble Lamb. We both are art gilded. I grabbed the amethyst because it's what I had handy. They make this in 3 colors in the Humble Lamb. They have an amethyst, they have a blue, and they have a red. The Nelson's just a straight red. It's very similar to that red you see in a lot of the older Cambridge style Bibles. The Nelson does use their new comfort print font in this. I forget the font of this one. I'll have to look it up. I'll put it in the notes. Both have colored chapter indicators. Both are side column references. So very similar there. Side column references. There's a lot of similarities in the Bibles. For me, I own both. They both are extremely beautiful Bibles. With the Nelson out the way it is today and having what looks to be almost a little larger font, even though it's kind of a trick when you hold the font chart up to it, it's maybe a 1/4 point bigger. For the money, being that I can get this for 70, 75, 80 bucks, versus 150. Personally, I would rather have this, and the paper feels better. It just feels like a nicer paper. Both of these paper is Chinese paper from both. This is a mass-produced Bible. This is a handmade Bible, and because of that, one of the things you're going to come in contact with is the issue of defects in this Bible, because it is mass-produced. I own numerous of the Premier line Bibles now of this go around, and I've had a few come with defects, and I've had to send them back. So just something to keep in mind as well. So just something to think about when we're looking at these Bibles. Go to Psalms here. We'll go psalm for psalm. So the layout is going to be a thing for you, and you'll see that the layout and the humble lamb is just much spacier. We have a very large block, lots of space. It almost feels like, you know, you have some room to take some notes in here if you want, but it's not real well laid out space. And this is not consistent throughout a lot of it. It looks like we have, what is it, it's like you have about a 1-inch inner there from a margin standpoint. So for taking notes, this may be a little bit better for you. But it's just not a cramped style. I wouldn't say that this is cramped either, but it's definitely much tighter. Everything's brought in together much closer, kerning, all the things. So that becomes a personal preference as well. For me, when I look at this, I read this, everything jumps off the page. For this one, it seems like the text is just floating in a sea of white, and it almost feels like, unless I'm going to be doing note-taking, a lot of wasted space. So that's just kind of there. And then we get into passages like Isaiah, we see where this 1-inch margin starts to go away a bit. We get into the non-poetic passages. There we go. Get into Daniel. Let's just go to the New Testament. Go to Acts. That's Acts 1. Okay. Also, this is a red letter edition Bible, whereas this is not, if that means something to you. I'm not a red letter person, so that's just up to you as well. And we'll see how they break out the chapters there, the beginning of the chapters. We have Acts, and then we have Acts here, the Apostles. This just seems to jump off the page to me. It's a darker, bolder font. This one, it's a great Bible, but for reading, just sitting and reading, I just always tend to gravitate towards this. So I just want to give you a quick look at the two Bibles. Beautiful Bible, very well made. I would suggest this for anyone who wants a Bible. Same for the Nelson, but for the money, I'm going to stick with the Nelson, just because it's roughly half the price when I get it on sale. So roughly half the price with a bolder, darker text, a bit nicer feel paper to me, better ribbons, just out of the box. It seems to be a little bit better experience. It is, I will say, it was a bit stinkier when I got it out of the box compared to the Humble Lamb. But just something to think about as well. That was no big deal. I just kind of set it out for a day or two, and that went away. So thanks for joining me today. Just want to look at these two Bibles, and everyone have a great day, and go get you a new single column New King James. Both of these are beautiful Bibles. Also, if you're going to get one of the new Humble Lambs, I may have mentioned it, but I'll mention it one more time. The new latest edition of this, they've upgraded the ribbons. I haven't seen one yet because I have all three of these in the colors, so I just didn't really feel any need to get the other ones. As well as they upgraded the end paper as well. So you can see it's kind of wavy, and there was a lot of complaints about that. So yeah, so they supposedly upgraded that, and then just all the way around, this was kind of rough to me. So this is supposed to be better done and better ribbons. So if someone has one of the newer Humble Lambs, I would love to see what they did with that. Everyone have a great day, and thanks for joining me.